we're going to talk about proportions and the skeleton. Now this is an academic skeleton. As you can see, there's a stand, and this is a skeleton we would have in one of our classes. Every skeleton will be slightly unique, just so you guys are aware, but we are going to first talk about the anatomical center. The anatomical center is typically at the bottom portion of the pelvis. And I'm just writing anatomical center. So with this anatomical center, it will tell half and half. So the top portion should then be at least half to the bottom where the feet, and that measurement should come into alignment. As I discuss measurements, please know that it can change for each person. So these are general proportions. As we look again at the anatomical center, if we do have a figure that is standing, for example, the skeleton, I should be able to divide it half and half, so the same portion should be equal to the top and bottom. As I erase this, let's go ahead and look at how many heads high the skeleton is. So first of all, we have our skeleton here, the actual skull. And then we're going to actually use our pencil to measure. In this case, I am using a different device. So we'll say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and about, we'll say 5.5 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. So 6.5, exactly. And again, I'm counting the original one, so that's why I ended up getting 6.5. I could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 heads in length, or again, it could be the 6.5 heads length. Okay, so this would help me out. You literally could draw circles of these skulls to kind of help with the mind to see where the skulls would be located and how many skulls in length. Let's erase this now. Okay, other ways to measure. If we were to measure just the width of the skull itself, we can see that there's about 1, 2 skulls within the rib cage location. Another way to go is if we just look at the skull again itself, we can see that it's about the same length as the sternum. So that equals out. We know the rib cage is going to be slightly longer, so that could be about 1.5 heads in length. Another way to go is to look at proportions. Joints are really important to help us know proportion and measurement. So if I were to draw a straight line here, I understand the elbows are slightly higher than the pelvis location. So if I was to draw this particular skeleton, I would make sure my joints are a little bit higher to help me understand the space and the relationship. Different ways on how to draw is to make simple form. So for example, if you notice this rib cage sort of looks like an egg shape or a circular shape, you can make it very simple in form. The head area can also have a simple shape and form. The joints could be circle, straight lines, and then you can do what they call mitten hands if we're just getting a quick gesture down of those particular fingers. The spine we have for the pelvis area, you can make even sort of like a rectangular form. Then I have the joints. Notice how in this particular skeleton we have the femur bone, which is the longest bone of the body, going inward. So it's not particularly straight. Then we have the joints with the patella, which is the kneecap, the shin bone, joints again, and then we have the feet. And the feet can be, again, just like mitten hands if we desire that. And I'll make a circle there. Okay. Let's go ahead and erase this. As we're working, typically the spine, as we can see, it's very straight. So I can do my one action line. This would be that line that I would see within the figure or within the skeleton. Then I do what I call the bean method, or you may have heard of that. The bean method is basically like the shape of a bean, kidney bean or so forth. So I start with the center, and that would be the rib cage and the pelvis area. So when you think about it, it kind of makes a bean shape if we were to look at it that way. Then I go with the head, the skull. So I basically have my foundational portions, the axial skeleton, then I'll go with the appendicular, and that would be like, let's say, an idea of tree branches. So that would be the arms and the legs. And as we did before, that's when I would just get the simple form down to build out the figure. It's also important to see where the joints, as we mentioned before earlier, are located. So for example, elbows, we have the joints, we have the upper portions of the thigh location of the femur, the kneecap, and we just get to look at those measurement in that relationship. So for example, the femur bone being the longest bone of the body, it goes a little bit beyond to the feet. Okay. With the rib cage, you actually could do kind of like a simple shape if you want to do for that, or it could be a circular shape. Again, we're just getting the simple form down of the particular skeleton. Notice also where the hands are. So the tips of the finger have a relationship where they go to the mid-thigh. So that helps me know when I am rendering or sketching out the skeleton where the hands are located. Okay, and so that's general overview of the skeleton, just really simple information.